The sixth sense, the door to temporal wisdom, the 13th step towards riches. The 13th principle is known as sixth sense, through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. This principle is the apex of philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles. The sixth sense is the portion of subconscious mind which has been referred to as the creative imagination. It has also been referred to as the receiving set, through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind. The flashes are sometimes called hunches or inspirations. The sixth sense defies description. It cannot be described to a person who has not mastered the other principles of this philosophy, because such a person has no knowledge and no experience with which the sixth sense may be compared. Understanding of sixth sense comes only by meditation through mind development from the within. The sixth sense probably the medium of contact between the infinite mind of man and infinite intelligence, and for this reason it is a mixture of both the mental and spiritual. It is believed to be the point at which the mind of man contacts the universal mind. After you have mastered the principles described in this book, you will be prepared to accept it as a truth, as a statement which may otherwise be incredible to you, namely, through the aid of sixth sense you will be warned of impending dangers in time to avoid them, and notified of opportunities in times to embrace them. There comes to a aid and to their beating, with the development of the sixth sense and a guardian angel, who will open to you at times and door to temporal wisdom. Whether or not this is a statement of truth, you will never know, except by following the instructions described in pages of this book, or some similar method of procedure. The author is not believing nor the advocate of miracles, for the reason that he has enough knowledge of nature to understand that nature never deviates from established laws. Some of her laws are so incomprehensible that they produce what appear to be miracles. The sixth sense comes as near as being a miracle as anything I have ever experienced. And it appears so only because I don't understand the method by which this principle is operated. This much the author does know, that there is a power or first cause or intelligence which permeates every atom of matter and embraces in every unit of energy perceptible to man, that is an infinite intelligence and converting acorns into oak trees, causes water to flow downhill and respond to the law of gravity, follows the night with day, and the winter and summer, each maintaining its proper place in relationship to the other. Okay, step by step, through the preceding chapters, you have been led to this, the last principle. If you have mastered each of the preceding principles, you are now prepared to accept, without being skeptical, the stupendous claims made here. If you have not mastered any of the other principles, you must do so before you may determine definitely whether or not the claims made in a chapter are fact or fiction. While I was passing through the age of hero worship, I found myself trying to imitate those whom I most admired. Moreover, I discovered that the element of faith, with which I endeavored to imitate my idols, gave me a great capacity to do so quite successfully. I have never entirely divested myself of this and habit of hero worship, although I have passed the age commonly given over to such. My experience has taught me that the next best thing to being truly great is to emulate the great by feeling and action as nearly as possible. Long before I had ever written a line for publication or endeavored to deliver a speech in public, I followed the habit of reshaping my own character by trying to imitate the nine men whose lives and the life works has been most impressive to me. These nine men were Emerson, Paine, Addison, Darwin, Lincoln, Burbank, Napoleon, Ford, and Carnegie. Over a long period of years, I held imaginary council meeting with this group whom I called my invisible counselors. Wow! The procedure was this. Just before going to sleep at night, I would shut my eyes and see, in my imagination, this group of men seated around my council table. Here I had not only an opportunity to sit among those whom I considered to be great, but I actually dominated the group by serving as a chairman. I had a very definite purpose in indulging my imagination through these nightly meetings. My purpose was to reveal my own character, so it would be represented composite of the character of my imaginary counselors, realizing, as I did early in life, that I had overcome the handicap of birth in an environment of ignorance and superstition. I deliberately assigned myself the task of voluntary reversing through the method here described. Okay. Building character through auto-suggestion. Being an earnest student of psychology, I knew, of course, that all men have become what they are because of their dominating thoughts and desires. I knew that every deeply seated desire had the effect of causing one to seek outward expression through which that desire may be transmuted into reality. I knew that self-suggestion is a powerful factor in building character, that it is, in fact, the sole principle through which a character is built. With this knowledge of principles of mind operation, I was fairly well armed with the equipment needed to rebuilding my character. In these imaginary council meetings I called on my cabinet members of the knowledge of which they each to contribute, addressing myself to each member in audible words and as follows. Mr. Emerson, I desire to acquire from you the marvelous understanding of nature which distinguishes in your life. I ask that you make impress upon my subconscious mind of whatever qualities you possessed, which enable you to understand and adapt yourself to the law of nature. I ask that you assist men in reaching and drawing upon whatever sources of knowledge are available to the end. Wow, Mr. Burbank, I request. Wow. Mr. Burbank, I request that you present to me the knowledge which enable you to analyze the laws of nature that your cousin causes to shed its thrones, and it becomes an eatable food. Give me access to knowledge which enable you to make two blades of grass grow where but one grew before, and help you to blend the coloring of flowers with more splendor and the harmony, for you alone have successfully collided. And the really Napoleon, finally, I desire to acquire from you by emulation the marvelous ability to possess and inspire men, and to arose them to greater and more determined spirit of action. Also to acquire the spirit of enduring spirit of action, faith, which enable you to turn defeat into victory and to surmount staggering obstacles. Emperor of Fate, King of Chance, Man of Destiny, I salute you. Salute. Mr. Pin, I desire to acquire from you the freedom of thought and the courage and clarity with which you express and the convictions which so distinguished you. Mr. Darwin, I wish to acquire from you marvelous patience and ability to study and cause and effect without any bias and prejudice, so exemplified by you in field of nature science. Mr. Lincoln, I desire to build into your own character the keen sense of justice, the untiring spirit of patience, the sense of humor, the human understanding, and the tolerance which were your distinguishing characteristics. Mr. Carnegie, I am already indebted to you for my choice of life work, which has brought me greater happiness and peace of mind. I wish to acquire a thorough understanding of principles of organized effort, which you used so effectively in the building of the great industrial enterprise. Mr. Ford, you have been among the most helpful of the men who have supplied much of the material essential to my work. I wish to acquire your spirit of persistence, the determination, poise, and the self-confidence which have enabled you to master poverty, organize, unify, and simplify human effort, so may help others to follow in your footsteps. Mr. Edison, I have seated you nearest to me and my right. Because of my personal cooperation you have given me during my research into cultivating success and failure, I wish to acquire from you the marvelous spirit of faith with which you have uncovered so many nature of secrets, the spirit of unremitting toil, with which you have so often wrestled in victory from defeat. My method of addressing a members of imaginary cabinet at Woodbury, according to the traits of character in which I was, for the moment, most interested in acquiring. I studied records of their lives with a painstaking care. After some months of this nightly procedure, I was astounded by the discovery that these imaginary figures became apparently real. Each of these nine developed individual characteristics which surprised me. For example, Lincoln developed a habit of always being late, then walking around in a summer parade. When he came, he walked very slowly, with his hands in a closet behind him, and once in a while he would stop as he passed and rest his hand momentarily upon my shoulder. He always wore the expression of seriousness upon his face. Rarely did I see his smile. The cares of Ernest Saunders' nation made him grave. There was not true of the others, Burbank and Payne often indulged in witty repartee which seemed, at times, to shock the other members of cabinet. The ninth page suggested that I prepare the lecture on the age of reason and deliver it from pulpit of a church which I formerly attended. Many around the table laughed heartily at the suggestion. Not Napoleon he drew his mustache down in the corners and groaned so loudly that all turned and looked at him in amusement. To him the church was but a pawn of the state, not to be reformed, but to be used as a convenient incited to mass activity by the people. On one occasion, Bourbon was late. When he came, he was excited with enthusiasm and explained that he had been late because of an experiment he was making, through which he hoped to be able to grow apples on a short of tree. Payan tempted him by reminding him that it wasn't an apple, which started all the trouble between men and women. Darwin chuckled heartily as he suggested that Pain should watch out for the little serpents when he went into the forest and gathered apples, as they had the habit of growing into the big snakes. Emerson observed no serpents, no apples, and Napoleon remarked, no apples and no state. Lincoln developed the habit of always being the late and one to leave the table after each meeting. On one occasion, he leaned across the end of the table, his arms folded, and remained in that position for many minutes. I made no attempt to disturb him. Finally, he lifted his hat slowly, got up and walked to the door, 221 page, and 222, 223, and 222, then turned around and came back, and laid his hand on my shoulder and said, my boy, you would need some courage if you remained steadfast in carrying out your purpose in life. But remember, when difficulties overtake you, the common people have a common sense. Adversity will develop it. One evening, Addison arrived ahead of all the others. He walked over and seated himself at my left, where Emerson was accustomed to sit and sat. You're destined to witness the discovery of the secret of life. When the time comes, you will observe that life consists of great swarms of energy, and the entities, its intelligence and its human beings, think themselves to be. These units of life and group together like hives of bees, and they remain together until they disintegrate. Through lack of harmony, these units have difficult differences of opinion, the same as in human beings, and often fight among themselves. These meetings which you are conducting will be very helpful to you. They will bring to your rescue some of the same units of life, which served the members of your cabinet during their lives. These units are eternal, they never die. Your own thoughts and desires and serve as a magnet which attracts units of life. From the great ocean of life out there, only friendly units attach the ones which harmonize with the nature of your desires. Oh, the other members of the cabinet began to enter the room. Addison got up and slowly walked around him in his seat. Addison was still living when this happened. It impressed me so greatly that I went to see him and told him about the experience. He smiled broadly and said, your dream was more a reality than you may imagine it had been. He added no further explanation to his statement. These meetings became so realistic that I became fearful of their consequences and discontinued them for several months. The experiences were so uncanny, I was afraid if I continued them, I would lose sight of the fact that the meetings were purely experiences of my imagination. Some 6 months after I had discontinued the practice, I was awakened one night, or that I was, when I saw Lincoln standing at my bedside. He said, the world will soon need your services. It is but undergoing a period of chaos, which will cause men and women to lose faith and become panic-stricken. Go ahead with your work and complete your philosophy. That is your mission in life. If you neglect it for any cause whatsoever, you will be reduced in a primal state and then be compelled and retrace the cycles through which you have passed during thousands of years. I was unable to tell the following morning whether I had dreamed this and had actually been awakened, and I have never since found out which it was. But I do know that the dream, if it were a dream, was so vivid in my mind the next day that I resumed my meetings the following night. Oh, at our next meeting, the members of my cabinet all filed into the room together and stood at and their cousin places at the council table, while Lincoln raised a glass and said, "Gentlemen, let us drink a toast and a friend who has returned to the fold." After that, I began to add new members in my cabinet until now it consisted more than 50. Among them Christ and Saint Paul, Galileo, Copernicus, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, Homer, Voltaire, Bruno, Spinoza, Kant, Newton, Confucius, Albert, Humboldt Brain. This is the first time that I had in a college to mention this. Heretofore, I have remained quiet on the subject because I knew from my own attitude in connection with such matters that I would misunderstood if I described my unusual experience. I have been unbothered not to reduce my experience to the printed page because I am now less concerned about what they say than I was in years that have passed. One of the blessings of my story is that it sometimes brings one greater courage than truthful, regardless of what those who do not understand may think or say. As I be understood, I wish here to state most emphatically that I still regard my cabinet meeting as being purely imaginary, but I feel entitled to suggest that while the members of the cabinet may be purely fictional, and the meetings would exist only in my own imagination, they have led me into the glorious and passive adventure, rekindled an appreciation of the true greatness, encouraged the creative endeavor, and emboldened an expression of honest thought. Okay,